Tom, thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me, Tom. It means a lot.
It's great to have you here at OIS and to have you involved. And this is a nice opportunity to get an update on your extensive pipeline. It's hard to keep track of the trials you do.
Sure.
You must have an extensive Excel spreadsheet there. You're tracking all this stuff. But give us an update first on Rhopressa. You've had some movement there.
Well, sure. Yeah, we've really had three things going on for Rhopressa that we're really happy to report on. First and foremost, we refiled our NDA, and we did that the same day that our contract manufacturer told us that they were ready for FDA inspection. So we're very happy for that. The second thing is we announced the results of what we call Rocket 4, which is a 6-month trial that compared Rhopressa to BID timolol. We announced the first 3 months of the trial, the results from that, which is really the efficacy part. Now, this was an announcement around the last 3 months, which was really a safety part. But the important thing was it's a very clean safety profile that we found in Rocket 4, and Rhopressa also stayed in the non-inferiority range compared to timolol all the way through the 6 months. Mm-hmm. The final announcement is one we made just at the end of last year, and in that trial, the announcement came from the Mercury 1 trial. Mercury 1 was designed to compare Rocklatan to the individual components. That was the primary purpose. But in that trial, we also compared the individual components to each other. So that was comparing Rhopressa to latanoprost. And sure enough, we found that the IOP lowering from Rhopressa was non-inferior to latanoprost, again, in patients with IOP of less than 25. So very good results around and announcements around for Rhopressa.
So what goes in with the filing of an NDA? Obviously, no one ever counts their chickens until they're fully hatched. But are you gearing up commercially? Or are you sort of building the infrastructure that you may need?
Yeah, sure. I'd answer that question two ways. One, what goes into the NDA is everything but chickens that you mentioned, but it's thousands and thousands of paper and documentation, not just from the clinical aspect of it, but also the preclinical work we did with the product to develop the product, all the formulation work and the CMC, the manufacturing work that comes in. Mm-hmm. But now that we have the NDA filed, we're aggressively building out our commercialization team, including we've hired a vice president of sales, a vice president of market access, meaning managed care, as well as a vice president of sales operations. So, and we will continue to build that. On top of that, we've also added to our medical affairs team that do a lot of communications with physicians, as we've added a head of medical affairs, as well as several people that are going to work in her department as well.
Oh. What does the addition of those type of professionals to a company do to the culture of the company? You're moving on, you're evolving as you should be.
Yeah, the first thing it does to the culture, when you don't think it can get any more exciting, frankly, it does, because every person that comes into our company brings their own spirit, brings their own experiences, but came here for a very reason, and they seem to want to hit the ground not walking, mm-hmm. but hit the ground running. So really what it does, it just builds the esprit de corps throughout the company, regardless of whether they are, whether they're in our RTP office, our Raleigh office, whether in the Bedminster, whether they're in Southern California, or frankly, whether they're in Ireland, where we also have an office. But every person brings their own wit, their humor, their excitement, and their conviction to making this the best company that they possibly can.
That's great. And how about on the other side, Rocklatan? Any updates there?
Sure. Rocklatan, we also have three really neat announcements that are coming up very quickly. First, this quarter, Q2 here, we'll announce the results of Mercury 2, which is a 3-month trial comparing Rocklatan again to the individual components of latanoprost and Rhopressa. So that'll come this quarter. In the mid-year time period, we'll start our study that we call Mercury 3, which is a phase 3 trial designed for Europe, not needed for the FDA, but for Europe. And that'll compare Rocklatan against a fixed-dose combination that's been approved in Europe over there. So we'll be having our investigators meeting in just a couple of weeks, and we'll look forward to enrolling that first patient in Q3. The final thing we'll have, final announcement, will be the Mercury 2 9-month extension for safety. You remember that we announced the efficacy results from Mercury 2 late last year, mm-hmm. and then we also had a 9-month tail on that was primarily a safety extension, and we'll be announcing the results of that in Q3 of this year.
Well, so what do you anticipate we'll be talking about the next time we meet at OIS? I guess say 6 months from now. What does the rest of the year look like for you?
I think we'll continue to be building out our commercial team. People are always asking about where are you with that, mm-hmm. and we'll be able to fill in those sorts of things. And we'll also be able to tell them perhaps about some other smaller studies that we may be doing with Rhopressa, with natarsadil, the active ingredient there, with Rocklatan, to find differentiation, because we have a quite active preclinical program too that's been able to show a lot of points of differentiation for natarsadil, the active ingredient, obviously in both Rhopressa as well as Rocklatan.
Well, you're obviously a busy man, so we appreciate you taking a few minutes to share an update with us.
Well, thanks for allowing me to speak with you, Tom. It's always a pleasure.